Watching how hard your president, future president, vice president, like watching everybody on your senior staff work so hard and party so hard was very impressive. I'm like, I'm going to bed, y'all. I gotta work on Thursday. I know it's Tuesday night, but New Orleans will catch you. Kudos to all you that made it and survived Bourbon Street. Kudos. I can't believe you're all here this early in the morning. So I got a little extra time, so I was worried about time, so I'm really excited. The title is Captaining the Ship, Stirring Court Management Through Currents of Change. And we're gonna look at it from this lens of how we choose to see the world, how people choose to see us, and I'm just gonna share a few stories with you. So this is a picture of people in the Utah State Prison running. I had the opportunity of being a part of a team that organized the first 5K in the prison in the state of Utah. And it was a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons. I learned very early on as a therapist in the prison that I'm very easy to resist. I want you to think about that. Just as a person, like if you are incarcerated and I am the therapist that shows up to help change you, I am very easy to resist. Wouldn't you agree with that statement? I want you to consider that as we move forward today. Think of how you are positioned. This is a picture of me. This is a goofy. They put this in the newspaper. I'm like, this is a terrible picture, but it was there in the newspaper. And I guess what I do enjoy about it, it shared a little bit about my personality with some of the incarcerated people I worked with. I learned a secret, and that was the only thing I could do to create less resistance was to be more authentic. Just simply be myself. Maya Angelou says, your charisma is simply those that have gone before you, that love you, that are still around you to bear you up. And so anything I do, whether I was in the prison or keynoting, I'm never doing by myself. And so understanding that my authenticity is a representation of everyone who has chosen to love me is what brings me here today. And that is what created this opportunity. That morning, it was so funny because it was the morning of the 5K, and I got there, it was like about 80 incarcerated people, and I could feel that they were nervous. So I gave them like the coaching pep talk. And I love nervousness. Let me tell you why I love nervousness, because it's human. And I got up there in front of this group, I'm like, congratulations. They're like, what'd we do? We didn't run anything. I'm like, you're nervous. You're nervous. You're not taking drugs. You're not robbing people. You're not manipulating your poor grandma from her retirement. Keeping it real, right? Keeping authentic. You're actually in a spot in your life where you're actually nervous about trying to accomplish something. And I want to congratulate you on that. So folks, we have similar clients, right? We have similar clients. You folks work in the court system. You made sure these folks were going to prison, and then we took care of them. You're welcome. You're welcome. Kudos to, I forgot the young lady's name, when she won the award for mental health courts. Any alternative method of seeing someone differently empowers our system. And as goofy as a 5K might seem, empowering people gives them a different way of seeing the organization. And I want you to consider that as we move forward. So first, we want to understand how you see others. Okay? That's our first step today. And we want to look at it from this idea of mindset. I worked 15 years in my career, and I arrived. I got this appointed position by the state. I'm the state director of community programming, which meant all incarcerated people that got released, all 20 plus thousand of them, I was now in charge of providing programming for them. And I'm like, yes, I made it. I just need 3 more years before I can retire. I know how you know what I'm talking about. Got to get those top 3, right? Anybody here with me? Okay, I see some nods. I don't know how it is state to state, but you got to get that top 3. So I'm like, yes, I'm getting my top 3. A week later, I get a call from the HR director. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, Desi, you've been grieved by 10 therapists. I'm like, I just got the job last week. What's up? Don't worry, Desi, I talked to him. I said, you can't grieve your director if you haven't had a conversation with them. So they said they're going to set up a conversation with you so they could grieve you officially. Now, I want you to consider this idea. We had this conversation, and I realized I had an issue. And the issue is that I was so hell-bent on being the state director and so self-focused and so driven to get this to this position that their belief was I wasn't going to see them or be accountable to them. And so they were a preemptive grieve, right? So when we talk about an inward mindset, others don't matter like I matter. So their needs, objectives, right, their goals don't really matter to me. And because I'm so self-focused, I see them as an object. And either they're vehicles that I use, obstacles that I blame, or irrelevancies that I ignore, okay? We all do this. Sometimes we're so self-driven. Now, I know a few of you are saying, man, I wish Judge so-and-so was here to see this. This seems like this is his or her definition. I wish court administrator fill in the blank was here. I wish this person I led was here because they need to understand that I feel like an object around them. But I want to challenge you a little bit. I want you to consider, we all do this. Are there circumstances and situations where you see people as vehicles, obstacles, or irrelevant? As a manager, I used to say, man, I love when people can just do their job and go home. No drama. Just do your job and just go home. Job, go home. But what's the problem with that? What were they to me? Were they people? They weren't. They were vehicles or obstacles. So, let's talk about what it means to have an outward mindset. Others matter like I matter. So their needs, objectives, and goals really matter to me. And I see them as people. And as a result, my efforts, my objectives and goals simply take them into account. All right? Now let me be very clear on this. All right? This is not like raising kids. Let me explain. I told the last group this. My daughter has my car. She uses my car. And I'm like, hey, sweetie, I got to use my car. And she said, for what, Dad? I'm like, I got to go to the store. Okay, Dad, here's the keys. I need it back in 2 hours. Okay, sweetie, I love you. Thanks for being my daughter. Okay, so sometimes as parents, we lose sight of our objectives and goals in the midst of raising our children. And that's not really outward. Sometimes as employees, I was talking to an employee here, I'm not gonna mention who they are, but they were telling me they're a hard worker and their leaders know they're a hard worker. So what do the leaders do? What do leaders traditionally do with hard workers? We punish them with more hard work. Thank you for working hard, we'll give you more hard work. So she's working in 2 different facilities right now. And she's trying to manage 2 different facilities. And she's like, Desmond, I usually get to work at 7 and I stay till about 7 or 8 o'clock each night. I said, oh my goodness, we need to talk. As a therapist in me, we need to talk. So how many hours are you supposed to work a week? And she says, I'm salary. I'm like, oh, no. How many hours are you supposed to work a week? Well, about 40. How are you taking care of yourself in this moment? I'm not really. Let's talk about it. Being outward doesn't mean I give 80 hours a week to a 40-hour job and lose sight of myself and my own objectives. Is that clear? All right? And I will get my car back. Eventually, if I'm nice. But the reality is, when I'm outward, my objectives matter. Others' objectives matter. Now, we all know what it feels like when people objectify us. We all know what it feels like. We all know what it feels like when we've had leaders that don't see our humanity. We're just strictly things we need to do. And we also know what it feels like when leaders treat us as humans. So, when I'm inward, I'm focused on my results. We call it being in the box. And when I'm outward, we focus on our results. Now, this is the piece I want you to understand. When I am inward and I see people as objects, I'm inviting the same energy from them. It's fascinating. Anybody ever try to put a toddler in a car seat that didn't want to be in a car seat? There was one time I picked my toddler up, and this little child head-butted me right in the chin. And as I'm wobbling, I'm thinking, I'm gonna drop this baby. I am gonna drop this baby. Boom! I'm dropping this baby. So, my point is this. If an 18-month-old responds to when they don't feel seen and valued, if an 18-month-old responds to the fact when you're trying to do something and they don't want to do it, if they're resisting, what do you think a grown person will do? Does that make sense? Folks, but grown people are more subtle in their resistance. Oh, I can't get that vacation time off? All right, we'll see about that. You know it's the truth. Folks, oftentimes our organizations are filled with resistance. When people don't feel humanized, they'll do the most worst thing they could possibly do to you. You know what it is? Placate you. Just let things go on. Just let the dumpster fire burn. When people don't feel human, they let you torch the place and they won't interfere. They'll just let everything fall apart. Folks, I am an active and recovering inward human. I'm inward so many times, and I look back in my life on how I dehumanized people and how they responded to me. I had one person, we were fierce enemies because I got this job and they said, Desi, this person needs to change. And our team's great. You can supervise, but if you could change this person, everything would be better. So I'm this new leader hell-bent on changing this person. And what did this person do? They resisted. And I resisted. And I'm like, you want to resist? Okay, we'll see how far this goes, because I'm in charge. Anybody ever take that attitude? Oh, you want to resist? Okay, we'll see. I'm the one in charge. We'll see who wins. And it got to the point where this person left my team. And we became best friends. We became best friends, like really good friends. We go out to eat, we socialize. And 2 years into our friendship, I looked at them, I said, I'm sorry. They're like, what for? I'm like, Because I thought you were a problem, I felt I needed to fix you. And I never understood who you really were as a person. And I got to apologize to you. They're like, no, it's good, we're good. I'm like, no, it's not good. Here's one indication. Here's one key I want to give you right up front. When we choose to see another person's humanity beyond the problems they present, we show up as a different person to them. I want you to understand that. At this point in your leadership, if all you are doing is simply focusing on behaviors and focusing on the problems people present, they will resist you. And that resistance will make progression slow. So when you show up and you engage a person's humanity, you're showing up as a different person than a person in the past. It doesn't mean everyone will change. So what happens when two inward people collide? When two people are self-focused, they're only focused on themselves, only driven for what they want to accomplish, what happens when people don't see other people and those people collide? All right? Let's suppose I'm in the box towards this person I was just talking to you about. All right? What do? I see them as an object. What do they, and as a result, I blame them. Now, I want you all to consider, if I see any of you as an object and I start blaming you, what would you start doing? How would you respond to my blame? Defensive? What else would you do? Blame me. Hey, you're in the box, I'll jump right in the box. Right? I see you as an object, and then I blame. And this system goes on and on and on. A conflict where the parties are inviting the very things they're complaining about, driven by the need to be justified. We call it a collusion. I talked to one person here. I talked to so many of you. Thank you for being sweet, by the way. This is a great association. I'm serious. You folks are sweet. You like to have fun, and there's a lot of utility in everything you do. I'd only ask for you is this, as you're here, bring a friend next year. I think that should be the motto. Bring a friend. Because this type of association needs people, a lot more people. Let's double this room up next year. I think that could be a goal. The membership person's like, woo, 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 woo. You're welcome, membership. I got you, membership. Woo, woo, double it up. Woo, woo. Let's get back to collusion. All right. So the point is like when we have this conflict and both people are blaming each other, neither person is seeing each other clearly. We're literally engaging the parts of each other that frustrate us the most. We call this politics, marriage. Oh, I cut a little close on that one. I talked to one person here that said, Desmond, I'm working hard, but I've got a leader that is creating a coworker, creating issues, and now my team is working with that leader, and I feel attacked, right? Collusions are real. What are these things costing us? So, what do I do? What do I do to get more justification, right? If I've got this collusion towards somebody, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna resolve it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bring other people in it with me. I don't resolve it. What do? I bring in other staff. Come on, join forces with me. Look at the challenges that are being presented. I can't believe I'm going through this. And what does the other person do? They bring other people into it. And now this one-on-one situation becomes operation versus HR, HR versus accounting, accounting versus computer analysis or IT, right? We have groups of people just not seeing each other. Certain courts against other courts. All fueled by the need to be justified. And here's the crazy thing about it. We're forming all these allies, and guess what? We don't even see the allies. Because you know what the allies are to us? They're vehicles. So in the process of doing all of this blame, we're missing out on the real work. Folks, I want you to think about this. In the process of so much blame, in the process of focusing on things about a person that we're most frustrated with, we're not doing the real work of actually working together. What does this cost relationships? What does this cost organizations being stuck in these collusions? All right? So, I want to show you a video. This is Louise Francisconi. She worked as a division president. She's going to talk a little bit about her collusion that she went through. Then we're going to diagram her collusion. Then you all should have a My Collusion sheet on your tables. And then we're going to help you work through your own collusions today. All right? Y'all thought you were going to get off the hook, huh? You thought I was just going to talk to you about something, and you're like, oh, this isn't me. No, you're working on it today, folks. So, let's watch this video.
I had a boss, my corporate boss. I was reporting to the CEO of the company at the time. I always felt he was micromanaging me. I was not technical. My boss was technical. I'm also the kind of person who likes to do a lot herself. So you can imagine how a meeting went when a technical problem would come up and I'd start briefing the answer, where we are on that. And my boss, who was technical, of course, would always want to have a technical one-up question on me and would ask. And I, being the kind of person that I was, always wanted to have the answer. And so I'd have the answer. And he'd ask another question, I'd have another answer. Whenever we got in our collusion, he would hear, she doesn't want any help, she thinks she knows everything, I'm going to send down people to help her. And I would hear, he doesn't think I'm capable of it. He doesn't think I'm working hard enough. He doesn't think I'm working this problem. I'm going to do it harder. Those people would come down. I'd get my whole team together. They always knew I worked as hard as could be, so they'd stand right behind me. My gosh, nobody's working harder than Louise to help this business. So they're lined up behind me. He'd bring in his fleet of teams. They're lined up behind. And what do you think is happening? One group's trying to help, sort of, not really, but they're trying to help. We're trying to, look like we're in charge. Not really, but sort of, The collusion was brutal. And it got so bad, I was thinking of quitting because I really was putting my heart and soul in it, and I didn't think my boss appreciated it. It was in a class that I was taking with Arbinger, and I was asked to come in and teach a portion of it. And I came in and I was sitting through the collusion piece again. And the instructor was going through the collusion piece, and I don't know what it was about that day, but the minute he was going through it, I thought, holy smokes. Holy smokes. And I stopped the class, and I stood up and I said, I need to draw a collusion. And I stood up and drew this collusion. Literally, it was the most freeing experience. I would say it was the most powerful learning experience of my whole career.
All right, let's draw out her collusion she had with her boss. Okay, I want you to consider this. So, step one would be, what was her boss doing that bothered her? Right? I want you to think about that. He was asking technical questions, double checking, and sending people to help. Now, here's a question. Is any of these things a problem? No, none of these are a problem. But what makes it a problem? My mindset. When I see people as an object, and I'm bothered by the things they're doing, then the simple things they're doing it's not what they're doing, is how I choose to see it. So what Louise was seeing was a micromanager trying to one-up, didn't appreciate my work, and didn't think I was capable. Do you folks see the difference? You have to understand, like when I see people as objects and I don't see their humanity, what they do is different than what I see. And I'm responding to what I see. I'll say that one more time. What people do when I have an inward mindset towards them, when I see them as an object, is different than what I see. Now, according to what she sees, what do you think Luis is going to do? Luis is going to try to appear she's in charge, always have an answer, and push back. So, how does her boss respond to her? Because her boss only sees what she's doing. Her boss thinks she knows everything, is not technical, and is stubborn. And then that perpetuates what goes on in number one. All right? So do you see the cycle that we have here? All fueled by the need to justify why someone is treating you the way they're treating you. It's all fueled by justification. In Arbinger, we call it the sweet nectar of justification. Because we need justification to justify why we're objectifying people. You have to understand that. We just don't wake up wanting to dehumanize other people. We need justifications. Nowadays, if you want justifications, all you have to do is go to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you need justifications to dehumanize someone, we have apps for that now. We call it social media, but really it's this whole system of objectification. We, even in the good things, oh, that person's so beautiful, and their spouse is so beautiful, and their kids are so beautiful. No, and they spend 3 hours getting dressed up for that event. But we objectify people, right? I heard once it said the first act of violence, before I initiate violence, the first thing I need to do is to dehumanize you or objectify you. As crazy as it might sound, folks, the subtleties of objectification are everywhere. And they're at the source of your most complicated relational issues. Good people are often blind to their impact on others. So, I want to ground you in that. You're good people. But I've got so many collusions, I've lost count. And I'm a good human. I'm trying my best. But there are times I collude with people. There's times I'm dancing this dance and I don't see their humanity. All right? You ready to practice? All right, let's get out your sheet. Okay. Think of someone at work who's frustrating you. Think of someone at work who's frustrating you. Yeah, you can turn your little seat around and work on this activity. You don't have to stare at me. That's okay. You already saw my face. You needed to see it once. Now, if you are live, don't talk yet. Don't talk yet. I don't need you to talk. I need you to listen, please. If you are live, if you go to the PDF, there's a PDF in the app. It has this written in there, or you can just follow the slide. You'll be good. You can draw this out on a piece of paper. You should have these papers in front of you. If you need extras, there are people handing them out in the back. So, I don't need you to talk at this point, folks. I need you to listen. I promise you, you will have 3 or 4 minutes to talk in just a little bit. So please refrain from talking. Just follow my instructions. Think of someone at work who is frustrating you. If you can't currently think of someone at work that's frustrating you, think of someone in the past. If you're at a table with people you work with, please do not ask them how to spell their name. That is not okay. You can use a code name like Voldemort, Cobra, Snake Eyes, Voltron, She-Ra. Use a code name if you're around people and one of them is getting on your last nerve. But I want you to think of someone at work who is frustrating you. You got that person in your head? Now, in quadrant 1, I want you to write down the things that they're doing that bothers you. The behaviors, just the basic behaviors. I want you to write those down. Quadrant 1, it's the bottom one to the right. Bottom one to the right. In quadrant one, what are they doing that's bothering you? Not how you see it, but what they're doing. What are the basic behaviors they're doing? Put those in quadrant one. Go ahead and write it down. It's okay, folks. This is an exercise. We're working on something. Go ahead and lean into it. Don't be afraid. I promise I'll make it all better after this. There's a happy ending to this. Okay, quadrant one. Think of something this person does that bothers you when you're inward. Something you wish they would quit doing. Be detailed. You got it? All right. Quadrant two. The bottom to the left. When you are inward towards this person, how do you see them and what they're doing? I'll put that in quadrant two. Now, this is how you see them. I'm inward, I see them as an object, and I think they're lazy, they don't work hard, they're not up to the team's things, they're not meeting their objectives. I don't think they want to be at work. I think they should have quit 2 years ago when they could have retired. I mean, these are all the things you feel about this person. If I could fire him yesterday, I already would have, but you need an act of Congress to fire people that work for the state. Whatever you feel, put that in quadrant two. Put your feelings in quadrant two. I think they're rude, obnoxious, self-centered. That stuff all goes in quadrant two. All right. When you are inward towards this person, how do you see them and what they are doing? That in quadrant two. Now, quadrant three. I need you to be detailed in quadrant three. Don't fill out quadrant four. Quadrant three. This is the most important quadrant. When you are seeing them in this way, you have listed, how do you act towards them and what kind of things do you do? In my situation, I thought this person was backbiting me, treating me poorly, communicating above the chain of command, and doing things that make my job really hard. And because of that, in quadrant three, I created distance from this person. I take all the other people I was leading out to eat, and I'd only take them, I just bring them like a sandwich. True, I'm being real. Like this person would isolate, we'd have team meetings, and this person would kind of isolate in the corner, and instead of being a leader that I knew I should be, I'd leave them in the corner. Because they deserved to be over there after all the smack they were talking about me. This is what I was doing. I want you to write down in quadrant three. Because of what I see in quadrant two, this is how I'm behaving in quadrant three. All right? Be detailed. How are you behaving? Folks, it's okay to be honest. How are you behaving? When people bother you, they're on your last nerve, how do you behave around them? I think it's worth exploring today. My kids always say, Dad, you're always a lot nicer when you come home from your trainings. I'm like, yeah, I've been evaluating my inwardness for the past 4 days, child. And I'm just trying to be better. So it's common in human nature, folks, so I want you to lean into it. When you're seeing this person in this way, in the ways you've listed, how do you act towards them? All right? Now, this is what I want you to do. Many of you are at tables with somebody. So I want you to pair up. If you're at a table by yourself, just find a person that's near you and just sit at their table. So this is your opportunity to talk. Now, you have two jobs. When I say start talking, I need you to talk. When I say stop, I need you to stop. Those are your two major jobs today. Can I get a commitment? Just nod. I don't need a yes because I haven't asked you to start talking yet. Just nod. Okay. I want you to pair up. Share with your partner what you wrote in quadrant three. No backstories, no justification, no context, no names. Please, no names, especially these tables that all work together. No names. And you cannot guess. You cannot guess about who the person's working on. You can't do that either. I want you to sit next to a person, no backstory, no context, no names, and say, this is how I'm behaving. If you were inward towards me, and I'm treating you this way, how might you see or describe me? Okay? So you're gonna tell, this is how I'm treating this person, If you were that person and you were inward and you saw me as an object, how would you see me and how would you treat me? All right? And then you want to write down what the other person says in quadrant 4. Okay? I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk. All right? Everybody pick a partner. Ready, set, talk. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. All right, let's stop. Let's come back to the front. Return your seats back around, folks. I'll give you a little time to do so. Okay. Now, there's 2 things we have to consider now. First of all, thank you. I know this is the last day of training, so thank you for leaning into this activity. So I appreciate it. It was fun watching people go through this. Does quadrant 4, like how people see you, does it create more of quadrant 1, the things that are bothering you? Yes. Yes, we call that diagnosing the drama. Now, there's something liberating in this I want you to consider. Sometimes up to this point, we don't often realize our part in our own drama. It's hard. It's hard, particularly when people are just nasty. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes people are nasty. And so let me be very clear about this. Your experiences are what they are, and I'm validating those experiences. So I just want you to know in doing this exercise, I'm not devalidating your experience. What I want to challenge is how you're choosing to show up, making matters better or worse. Does that make sense? Like, because you're thinking, but Desi, you don't understand, or Desmond, you can call me Desi, that's my nickname. Desi, you don't understand. Like, this person's this person's that. Desmond, you don't understand how difficult people are. I'm like, I know, I worked in a prison for 20 years. I have no idea how difficult people are. I just want to say, in all of that difficulty, how you're choosing to show up, maybe making the matters grow and grow and grow. All right. The last point's most important. I want you to write this down at your table. What are the consequences of this collusion? What is it costing you and others? I want you to write that down real quick, because you'll never change unless you know what it's costing you. What is it costing you and others? When I was grieved by by a team of therapists, like the collusion was costing me the ability for people to have a relationship with me, to listen to the things I had to say, to actually do the work we were being charged to do. They were spending more time and energy resisting me than actually doing the work we all had to do to help people out of prison get the programming and therapy they needed to be successful. It was costing the great state of Utah, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This collusion. So you know what I did as a leader? I had 2 choices. I was in charge, so I could continue to resist, or I could change. How others see you. Let's talk about it. Now, we're going to talk about the outward mindset pattern. This is just another tool, and like I say, this is all in your PDF file. This is a way in which we see people in a way where when we are inward towards them, we can start understanding more about their humanity. I have a good friend, he's a mentor, his name is Chad Ford. He wrote a book called Dangerous Love, and he talks about the power of humanizing others. And I said, Chad, how do you do your work? Because he's done a lot of Middle East negotiations. And he says, Desmond, when people start objectifying each other, I'm very much in it. Like, like I've got two parties who see each other as objects, I stay very much involved. When they start seeing each other's humanity, yeah, I want to walk in my community and be safe. Oh, I want to walk in my community and be safe. I want my kids to have a great education. I want my kids to have a great education. I want to be able to have a community that I can be proud of. So do I. He goes, Desmond, when I see that people start to see each other's humanity, their needs, their objectives, and challenges, I get out of the way. Change traditionally happens. We have a bunch of leaders in here. You're all leaders because you're here. I want you to start considering some of your staff and how they're choosing to see each other. And by not understanding others' needs, objectives, and challenges, what are they missing out on? What are they missing out on? Once I see you, and I'm striving to understand your needs, objectives, and challenges, then I'm naturally gonna adjust my efforts. Given what I've learned, I'll adjust my efforts. Had this really amazing experience. I was training overseas. I was in Abu Dhabi. I was in Dubai. And my daughter wanted to go, you know, the one that's got my car. And she's like, Dad, I want to go to Dubai with you. I said, sweetie, I don't got that type of money. Absolutely not. She's like, Dad, I want to go. I'm like, no. She's like, how much is a ticket? I looked it up. It's $800. She gets on her phone. She Venmos me $800. She's like, Dad, I'm going. I'm like, okay. But now I gotta take your mother because I'm not leaving an 18-year-old in Abu Dhabi by herself. So anyway, I took her mother. It cost me more money. Anyway, here's the point. I'm working all week. They're visiting Abu Dhabi and Dubai and having a great time. I'm working. And at the end of the trip, she's just glowing. And I watch her, anyway, she's on her phone and I watch her countenance kind of change and drop. She's been glowing all week. I'm like, baby, what's wrong? She's like, Dad, like I posted all these great pictures and like, cause I've been so excited to be here. And there's a lot of my friends aren't even liking like what I've experienced. And I'm like, sweetie, that is horrible. Like for an 18-year-old that's on a 17, that's devastating. I'm like, I've had experiences where I've done things and people haven't appreciated it. And she looked at me dead serious. She goes, you have? Like, guys, you gotta understand, like, it dawned on me, my daughter just thinks I just float. Does that make sense? Like, if she wants my car, it's there. If she wants money, it's there. If she wants this, it's there. Like, I don't think she actually understood that the struggle is real for all of us. And we had a conversation right there in the airport as we were flying back home about like our mutual challenges. Folks, you would be surprised how people you love don't even see your humanity. Does that make sense? Like, it's like a real thing. And I bring this up because like, we skip this part. We skip these things all the time. We make assumptions that people see us and they see our humanity and they see what we're trying to accomplish. But they don't. Sometimes you're just mom or dad or spouse or partner or daughter or fill in the blank. And so it's so important to like strive to understand each other more deeply. We adjust efforts, and then the most important thing is to measure impact. Folks, I'm sure you got people that you work with that are highly functional, they work hard, they bust their butt, they're extremely capable, and they wreak havoc on everyone. Their impact on people is treacherous. And we've had organizations call and say, hey, Desmond, we need 6 coaching sessions. If you can't help change this person, they're our top sales leader, we're gonna fire them. I'm like, why would you fire your top sales leader? They're toxic. So please understand that when we see others and adjust impact, we have to measure and hold ourselves accountable. Now, I don't have a lot of time, but I want to give you this little tidbit. We don't want to hold people accountable We want to create accountable people. And the best way of doing that is by modeling it. I guarantee you that half the leaders here are not taking the time to be accountable to their staff for their impact on them. I guarantee you half the leaders here are not taking the time to understand their impact on their staff and to be accountable for their impact on their staff. So if you're not accountable, how do you expect accountability in return? Remember, we're all humans, right? And I've got a sense of how you see me and how you feel about me. And your lack of accountability towards me, I'll respond in kind. It's a little freebie for me. That's free. It's on the house. All right. These are 3 questions, and these are in your file. I challenge you to go back to your staff. This is a great way to start to see your staff and your impact on your staff and holding yourself accountable for your staff. Now, after that grievance, I went through the Arbinger work. Arbinger work's hard when you're kind of an ass. And I was kind of an ass. Kinda. I was still trying hard. I think I was a good person, and I don't know, it was rough. But anyway, I went in front of I had 100 staff, and over the course of 3 to 6 months, I asked them all these 3 questions so that I could be more accountable to them for my work. Right? First question, how does someone in my role affect or potentially affect your ability to do your work, both positively and negatively? So it's not me. How does Desi? No, because, oh, Desi, you're great. You're fine. Desi, you're awesome. Jude, I love you. Jude's great. It's not you. How does someone in my role as director of community programming for the state of Utah, how do I impact you in a positive way and a negative way? From your perspective, how does someone in my role be most helpful to you? Not me, my role. And lastly, how and at what frequency would you like me to check in and stay accountable for my impact on your ability to do your work? And folks, things got to get a little bit loose. You know, I took these questions, and the first thing I did, I went to the group of people that grieved me. Because I wanted to know what was going on. And they gave me some stuff, boy. Woo! How can I be most helpful? One person said, we didn't get pies for Christmas. I'm like, what? Carrie, the last director, brought pies for Christmas. I'm like, Carrie got those pies from the prison. I didn't know y'all wanted prison pies. Carrie brought us pies. So you're telling me you want pies this coming Christmas? Yes. Carrie brought pies, you blew it. You didn't bring pies last Christmas. True story. So I'm like, all right. I'm gonna bring you some pies. But ain't no prison pies. I'm bringing sweet potato pie, my mom's recipe. And my wife don't mess around. My wife be like scraping like fresh Madagascar manila up into that pie. She don't mess around. Them some expensive pies. So for 3 years straight, I brought pies for Christmas. And I listened to all the other things and ways I could be helpful. My role, I didn't personalize it, my role. I just listened and learned and kept working through it. And I did my 3 years. Remember my top 3, I wasn't joking. I retired. And at my retirement party, these folks were crying because they said, we're gonna miss you. And you know what I said? I'm petty as hell. No, you can't cry. Y'all all grieved me 3 years ago and I haven't forgot it. I'm so petty. And then we all laughed and cried some more and we had a good time. But this is the point, folks. There's no magic in seeing another person's humanity. You just have to be intentional. And you have to show up with that intentionality. That's what I like about your president, Tina. She just shows up. Very authentic, very intentional. You can't mimic that. I can read all the behavioral books in the world, how to influence people and make friends, how to do this, the 10 steps of this, the 20 steps of that. And what people are going to respond to is how you choose to show up and see their humanity and the safety involved in that. Many of your leaders here, here's your litmus test. come Monday, because you're gonna need a few days to recover. I'm gonna give you Friday and the weekend. Let's say Tuesday. You're gonna need 4 days to recover from New Orleans. Tuesday, I want you to invite somebody to your office, a random staff member to your office. And if they come into your office like, you need something from me? You have a safety issue that is impacting your ability to get real change in your organization. If people come to your office because they need something or they're in trouble, and that's the only 2 times they come to your office, you will have a safety issue, and it's going to be difficult for you to create real change in your organization. That's your litmus test. Tuesday, you need a few days to recover. Invite somebody to the office, see how they respond. Now, don't invite your favorite person. That's cheating. Invite that person that you know who I'm talking about, that you had in that collusion. Invite that person to your office. Litmus test. All right, let's get going. Understand how to address conflict. Here's the challenge. There's 4 levels of conflict. There's conflict management and conflict resolution. Now, keep in mind, all of these things are behavioral. We look at conflict at such a behavioral level that we're missing out on what's really motivating people. And that's why most of our conflict management is all we're doing is just managing the conflict. Because we're so behavioral focused. Okay, you're treating a person this way, you're treating this person this way. What are we gonna do to treat each other better? I'll stop calling you an ass in front of my friends at the coffee counter. I'll stop making fun of you during your presentations behind your back. Okay, we have progress. This is great. What else? We're so focused on behavior that we never really address how people are seeing each other. So this is what I want you to understand. Conflict transformation comes when a person decides to be different. This is an important part because many of you may be expecting someone else to change. Anybody raise your hands? I'm waiting for somebody else to change. Desi, you don't understand. This person's an ass. I'm waiting for someone else to change. Keep in mind, folks, that for conflict transformation, the only person you control and the only change you control is you. So you're going to choose to see that person's humanity without the expectation of them changing. There's a benefit for that. It's a benefit. Let me give you the benefit, because sometimes we're going to see people's humanity and they're going to continue to resist us. But let me give you the benefit because I want you to leave with this. The benefit is that when I see a person's humanity, and that's all of it, that's the terrible things that they've been getting on their nerves, plus the wonderful things that they bring. When I see the full humanity, I'm no longer bonded to this person with so much anguish. It's the anguish that's getting us, folks. When I'm so frustrated by a person not changing, when I've objectified them, then I join the circus. I'm just a clown in the clown car. That person has rent-free space in my mind because my objectification leaves me solely responsible for their change. Does that make sense? When they're an object, they're a person they're just problems. And I'm the leader, I should fix it, right? And because of that attitude, I need to fix the problems, I'm burdened with that person than simply seeing their humanity. Whether they change or not, they're a person. And most of the times when you start seeing their humanity, you know the truth. It's that some folks, man, just have hard lives. Some people are doing the best they can simply to show up for work. That's hard to understand if we don't gauge their humanity. So we choose to see their humanity. Reconciliation comes when both people choose to see each other's humanity. Conflict management, conflict resolution, conflict transformation, and reconciliation. Reconciliation comes when we have mutual humanity. All right, this is the most important move. When I'm caught in this collusion, the most important move is for me to start seeing that person's humanity without expectation of change. Me showing up as a new person, a person that is much more difficult to resist. The only thing I did with that group of people that grieved me is that I became humble enough to be curious about their experience, to make the significant changes based upon that curiosity. Because of that, I showed up as a person that they could no longer consistently resist. All right. But what are the challenges? There are some challenges, right? Like when our backs are turned to each other, this chair is like representing that collusion, right? We can't see each other. So when we have this collusion, it is not likely that both people are going to turn their chairs. That makes sense? So when we're waiting for, usually we want people to change. Okay, as you change, I'll change. As you change, I'll change. And we change and we both simultaneously embrace. It's not human. It's rare. Happens in movies. Like, I remember The Love Boat? The Love Boat, about midway through the episode, everybody would change and fall in love again. I'm sorry, some of you might have to Google The Love Boat. But I do appreciate everybody else who smiled at me because you remember the episodes. Midway through, everybody was broken up on the ship. And then simultaneously, within 10 minutes, they'd all turn their chairs and see each other's humanity and fall in love and get back off the boat. It was magical. When we are inward, what do we think the solution is? When I'm inward and I don't see someone else's humanity, what's the solution? What do you think? For them to change. For the other person to turn their chair. The most important move is the only way to invite others to turn their chair is to do what I've been waiting for them to do. Turning my chair means seeing the other person as a person with no expectations. But turning a chair feels risky, doesn't it? Desmond, I'm a little nervous. What if I turn my chair and they're just still a horrible person? Oh, that's on them, right? It's no longer on you. Turning your chair is not becoming a doormat. It's not excusing others' experiences. It's not compromising your safety. It's not sacrificing your own needs, and it's not giving in. Turning my chair simply means I'm taking them into account while I'm doing my own work, and I'm acknowledging their humanity. Okay? All of those things seems like everything I do with my daughter. I need to work on this. I have a support group. Anybody have a daughter that they're just, anyway, just meet me outside after the keynote. But like, turning your chair doesn't mean we're giving in. Matter of fact, you know what I've learned? When I really see a person's humanity and I really understand and they're no longer an object to me, I'm more likely to have those meaningful conversations I've been avoiding. When they're an object, they know I don't believe they'll change. So why have the conversations? When they're a human, like I'm a human, I will give them the opportunity. What they choose to do about it is with theirs, but I'll give them that opportunity. What are the consequences, folks, of not turning your chair? I want you to consider that. What's holding you back, and what's possible if you turn your chair towards this person and their humanity? A couple ways we can make this move and turn our chairs. Meet to learn. Get intensely curious about the person's needs, objectives, and challenges to understand more fully your impact on others. Meet to give. Take unflinching justification, free responsibilities for the ways we have created challenges for others and offer concrete change, right? So what we're going to choose to do is understand a person in such a way that we're more helpful to them. We create an environment that reduces resistance. You no longer have to blame me or resist me because I'm choosing to learn about you. I'm choosing to give in a way in which I see your humanity. All right. I had to talk about burnout. This is bonus. This is bonus because y'all are in burnout fields. Is it okay if I take 5 minutes about burnout? Anybody good with me there? Got some? Okay, let's talk about it. All right. When my objectives are self-focused, I see others as objects, and they respond to me in kind. What I want to discuss is that burnout is when I was seeing someone as an object, then I start seeing my organization as an object, and then burnout hits is when I start seeing myself as an object. Okay? This is an important piece I want you to understand, all right? I've been objectifying my job and my work for so long, it's just a matter of time before I start seeing myself as an object or a problem. And when I start seeing myself as an object and a problem, burnout is right on the horizon. So a part of humanizing others is also a part of humanizing yourself. It's very difficult to see another person's humanity when you don't see your own humanity. I keep hearing this term imposter syndrome. Oh, I have imposter syndrome. I got this position, now what do I do? Oh, this sucks, right? It's not imposter syndrome. Folks, you got the job, you got the position. Stop looking at yourself in a way that you've objectified yourself, that you're paralyzed to do the things that are right. Humanize yourself in such a way that it's okay for you to be flawed and imperfect. Humanize yourself in such a way so it's okay for you to be amazing and talented and gifted. Take the totality of who you are and embrace it. And it's much easier to do that for others. Please understand that your burnout is directly related to you not seeing yourself truthfully. You are enough. Don't ever forget that. Before every speech, I'm like, use a kind, use a smart, use a important. Use a kind, use a smart, use a important. All right, I say it before every speech. The reality is, folks, if we're not sending positive messages to our own soul, how are we going to be anything for anyone else? If we can't speak to ourselves this way. So not only is there collusions with people, there's collusions within ourselves, and we have to humanize both. All right, folks. Our mission and Arbinger is to help humanize the workplace. You have a QR code on that collusion thing that will give you a lot of information. You also have a QR code up here. It's all in your PDF stuff. You can QR code on that piece of paper or QR code here. It's just resources of everything that I've discussed, okay? I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you. I want to bring Tina up for a second. Come on up, Tina. You forgot. Oh my goodness, you forgot this. Come grab your gavel, girl. Come on, come on. Take that with you. All right, and we've been working on this for a year, and I was like, I wanted to present something that was meaningful to you folks. I just want to thank Tina and her team for the support and love I've had here. I want to thank all of you. I hope this was meaningful and helpful. We have Arbinger books that are kind of around on the tables. So if you haven't got one, come up to the front and come grab one. If you, please add me, Desmond Lomax, add me on LinkedIn. If you're like, Desmond, I didn't get a book, just send me on LinkedIn. I'll find you a book, okay? So don't get too crazy about it. Please enjoy what the rest of the time you have. Please get home safely. I want to thank NACOM, and I want to thank you personally. And I appreciate everything, and enjoy your day and get home safely. Thank you, bye-bye.